Good afternoon, everyone. Oh, come on now. Good afternoon, everyone. Okay now. Today we have three incredible Detroit-based artists whose work is not just art. It is storytelling, it's activism, it's really deeply reflective of the city that they call home. And in a world where stories are told about communities and not by communities, these artists are picking up the pen, the paintbrush, and the mic to tell their truths. So let's start with a question for everyone. We know that artists aren't just reflecting the city, you are also shaping the cities that you're in. That's a lot of responsibility. How do you approach that responsibility? We'll start with you, Jessica.
Fearlessly. I approach it everywhere I am in the world. I've traveled all over the world for the last 30 years as an artist, and everywhere I go, I say, "What up, though?" I let people know that I'm from Detroit. And the questions you get when you're from Detroit, especially, they say 10 years ago, they talk to you like you're in the ICU. And so I just remind them that we're alive, that we're not on the ICU, that we go outside, that we are flourishing. We have restaurants here, and they really talk to you like, "So how's it going?" You know what I mean? It's never like, "Oh, Detroit." So maybe that's 10 years ago. Now it's like, Detroit's so much better, isn't it? So I got to deal with that irritating shit, you know what I mean? So I got to go like, nah, it was better when my daddy was here, I left New York in 1995 for Brooklyn, and everybody in Brooklyn knew where I was from, so we're clear. Because they used to try to introduce me as a New York poet, and I was like, oh, hell no. I'm from Detroit. And so I don't know what the question was, except that I show up as myself at all times, and that's what Detroit artists do.
Absolutely. So we love that. We love that about you, Jessica. Just to share, the question was about the responsibility of being an artist, and how do you approach that?
Like how Jessica said, fearlessly, definitely, with love. I feel like if it wasn't for art, if it wasn't for Detroit, I wouldn't be here today. Art saved my life. And when I do make my murals and make my paintings, I feel like my most connective paintings are the breadcrumbs and love pieces I leave for Detroit, like Detroit Never Left or Techno and House is Black Music. I put these type of monikers in my murals so people can learn to understand the culture in Detroit. So I feel like it's a responsibility to reteach Detroit to Detroiters, because we get so many like big companies that come here and they just come look at us in a fishbowl, but they don't really understand that we've been prominent, we've been here, we've been moving for so long. And now that it's more powerful, we got to take the responsibility to not only teach the world, but teach ourselves of the importance and power of our own soil.
That's right.
Beautiful.
Hey.
Love it.
For me, it's about being informed and like knowing what's going on in my community, because I create images that I tell my audience that is of my experience, but also their experience here growing up in Detroit. And so in order for that to be authentic, I have to know what's going on in my communities. So I stay informed, I stay connected. I never want to be the artist that's making art and saying it's for Detroit, but I'm all the way somewhere else, and I'm never here, and I'm never participating, I'm never seen out in the community. And so for me, it's about being active, it's about being informed and knowing what's going on.
Sweet.
Beautiful, thank you. So I'm a CEO of a storytelling organization that gathers artists from around the nation for them to tell their stories in public spaces through public art. So I have to start with stories. Jessica, I would love if you would tell us about the untold stories about Detroit that you want to hear.
It's illegal for me to tell the real. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Sheefy was there with me when it happened too. I'm kidding. The real stories of Detroit. I mean, you know, my daddy's story is the story that I hold dear. And my dad, we're up south people, if you don't know. All of us are Alabama, Georgia, Mississippi people. And then the rest of us are from the Middle East. So we're clear. So we have a huge Middle Eastern community. I grew up on the border of Dearborn. So I grew up right there on Tireman, that thing that divides black folks, some working class white folks, and our beautiful Muslim and Chaldean communities. So that was my neighborhood. I think that's an untold story. That's probably one of them that needs to be told more, is the connection between the black and the Arab population and the Muslim community here, which is a thriving, big community that helped raise me up here. I'm actually writing a short novel in verse called Our House in the Middle of the Street, which is about two little girls who grow up across the street from Tireman. So I think that's something that people don't know, that we are a diverse city. They also just talk about Detroit. We are a predominantly black city. That's fantastic. But there are also people here from Mexico and from Lebanon and other spaces. And so I think that's one of them. But my daddy, coming from Alabama and with nothing but his construction company and his will, and he built his own company here. And that's why I can't work. I could work with you. I can't work for you. And that's been my daddy. I never saw my daddy work for anybody. And those kind of black folks built this city. So even though you might see a lot of white people in Detroit now, believe me, their mothers and fathers didn't necessarily build the place that they are enjoying their latte in. And so, respectfully. Some of that, I know some white folks from the east side, they about it. But, and their parents are from here. You know, my friend Irish, my friend Brian, his Irish brothers and sisters are all from here. But truly, you know what I mean? Like, my daddy's story gets washed away in the new, so.
Thank you for that. I love that message of solidarity. So, DeAnn, we had the joy of working together with the Stories of Us. DeAnn created a sculpture that was here in Capitol Park, and it's currently in Cleveland. Shout out to Bedrock for supporting that exhibition. Your work in particular is a mix of illustration, of storytelling, but also of community memory. I'm curious, how do you use children's books and illustration and visual art to speak about cultural narratives?
For me, it's about looking to see like what's missing in the children's illustration world. I think in the last 10 years, we have gotten a lot of more representation with like little black kids being in books, but it's still the light-skinned little girl with the big afro. And so for me, when I'm illustrating, if anybody's familiar with my first book, Homegrown, it's a little dark-skinned girl. And so for me, when I'm illustrating, I want to speak to the child who is still looking for themselves in the pages of the books that they're reading. So I'm putting the disabled kids, I'm putting the little fat girls, all of them, because they deserve to be in those stories and see themselves just as much as anybody else. And so that's how I kind of take control and create a new narrative, and having little kids with locks. And so one of my books, the child is getting their locks retwisted. And it's just like, you don't see that a lot, even though we have kind of come a long way with seeing little black kids, we still have to ask ourselves, why is this particular image more seen than the other children that we have in our communities, and why don't they deserve to see themselves? And for me, it's about not only answering that question, but putting the literal pen to the paper and creating that.
Thank you. Now, Jessica, you're a Detroit Poet Laureate, so you know all about Detroit, you know the history. I would love if you would indulge us with a story that is the essence of Detroit.
The essence of Detroit? Okay. Wow. I mean, the soul of our city is the people. I mean, that's truly what it is, and I think that's my ongoing narrative about what I write about when it comes to the narrative that I write in my books. Detroit has always been a character inside of my poems, and it's easy when someone says, "Oh, come and read a poem about Detroit." I'm like, I got 2,000 poems about Detroit. But the essence of our city is like, what's different about us is that, you know, look at our city. We're not Brooklyn on purpose, you know. And although New York is fantastic and LA is fantastic, there's something about neighborhoods and that we're made up of small neighborhoods. And you know, you see the redevelopment. You guys are downtown. If you're visiting here, you might see like a 2 or 3 blocks of Detroit. Like, it's not just downtown. It's the east side. It's the west side. It's Rosedale Park. It's Palmer Woods. It's Herman Garden Projects, where I learned how to play basketball off Tireman. That doesn't exist anymore. So it's truly people inside neighborhoods. That's when I was growing up, we didn't come downtown. We went to Belle Isle, then we came back home. Like, you know, it wasn't like we stayed downtown all night. We were like in neighborhood bars. My daddy would go to the spot on Linz and on Livernois, where he knew everybody. It was a BYOB. We regular kind of folks. And genius at the same time. And if not for us, right, what music would exist? You know, like Motown to techno to the jazz artists that are here, to some of the best visual artists in the world. And definitely, you know, the reason why I still exist is that I was raised by Black institution builders. I know Broadside Press, and I know Lotus Press, Naomi Law Magic. So I'm the Detroit Poet Laureate only because there was a Dudley Randall before me, and there was a Poet Laureate named Naomi Law Magic who taught me up, who said, Jessica, I went to Brooklyn and I started publishing the New York poets. Why take a black girl from the west side of Detroit to publish Saul Williams' first book, or publish Raz Baraka's book, or Asha Bandeli, like, became an institution builder in New York City? Because it wasn't enough just to be famous, because Detroiters don't really care about fame, they care about the work. And the work ethic that I got from being here has propelled me to be able to still be here. So.
Now, Sheefy, we know that public art has the power to transform cities and to shift cultural attitudes and narratives. You have created murals all over the city. And not just the city, the state, and beyond, right? So you are part of that shift locally, but also globally. So I'm really curious to understand what your visual language and your approach to murals has done to shift who we think art is for and where it belongs.
I just did a residency in Bihać in Bosnia. I stayed there for a month, and it really showed me just a whole different scope of how people take in art, how you could change a space. It used to be Yugoslavia, and then they had like the war and everything 30 years ago. Like, the wall I was painting on literally had bullet holes in it. But when I was painting this wall, it was a 6-story wall. You know, I just did what I did in Detroit. I treated it like a canvas. I just treated it like a piece of me, just like how I do at home. You know, you'll see my faces everywhere, my monikers everywhere. So I just went with that same type of energy. And when I did that, it really made me understand that energy has no language. Art has no language, it's only felt. So when I seen how the community felt and embraced that mural, it really showed me how you can just have pure intentions, and with the right opportunities, you can really change the world. And that's what I'm seeing with murals, you know. And I really jumped into murals because I've seen so many different artists come to Detroit, and it just started slapping murals around here everywhere. So once I really started seeing that, I stayed in Eastern Market, so I just did like the Red Bull residency. That was like big at one point in time. But when I seen like the murals just get taken over by so many different people that's not from here, I took a badge of honor to really, you know, step 10 toes down and make sure that we're on these walls, we're represented, and not only just what the sponsors want, you feel me? I really fight hard for my style and for what I want to say. And I feel like with that, it helps me create a global language that can be understood without nothing being said.
Thank you. Beautiful. So we're going to wrap up with one last question for everyone. You all are cultural leaders. You shape how this city is being seen, how it's felt, you know, how it's going to be remembered. And so I'd love to hear about the legacy that you're creating, and what is that impact that you want to have on the next generation? Shall we start with you, DeAnn?
Yeah, I think that for me, it's about my art really being able to be in the space with the person and them really feeling connected to it. And I don't think of legacy as a kind of future thing, as a long-term thing. I want people like right now, today, the people that I'm connected with, the audience that I have, the people who support me, I want them to know that I support them and that I see them. And so part of my legacy is the right now. Like, what am I doing right now to connect? What am I doing right now to be in community with my people? And how am I giving back to them? Like, I don't want it to just be about my art. I use the money that I make from my art to like GoFundMe, donations for Black trans women, to support anything that I see going on. And I'm really big on, if I have extra money, to me in my brain, the way I think about it is, if I sell a print for $30, then if somebody on the timeline or somebody in my community needs $30, I can make that $30 back, so let me give this right now. So I think that is what, when I think about legacy, I think about the right now. What am I doing right now?
Sheefy, do you want to?
Could you repeat the question for me again?
Yeah, the question's really about legacy. What is the legacy you want to leave in Detroit? What's the impact on the next generation?
I feel like I want to forever be a Detroit player. And when I say that, I don't mean by playing with hearts, but playing the cards I was dealt. I want Black men with tattoos on their face and on their hands to feel like they can be in these white wall galleries just like me. I just want to be an example. And I hope I'm doing good. You feel me? Like, when I think about the future, we not promised tomorrow, so I don't try to get my hopes up and be like, I'm gonna just be here doing all this and that. At least now how I'm moving like with intention, with every day, every breath. And I hope people just see, you know, what I'm doing.
Jessica?
Yeah, so the thing that makes me different than just being an artist is that I've been an institution builder my entire career. I've been publishing poets since 1997 for 21 years. I've been supporting Black women who play rock and roll music with something called Black Women Rock. It's the baddest rock and roll concert you haven't seen yet, perhaps, or maybe you have. But last year I did something that I've never had to do. I funded the entire concert at the Fillmore with my own money. The money that I got from being a Poet Laureate, I spent every dime to making sure my 20th anniversary happen. I did it with no corporate sponsors. And I just get tired of asking people for money for something that's incredible. And so my legacy will be that I don't wait for people to give me money to do shit. And if it's gonna happen regardless. If you wanna help me along the way and throw me some dollars, I'll take it. But I'm not gonna beg for money from corporations to exist. And so I think that's the thing I've done well, is that I've found a way for the last 30 years to exist without people having to fund me. I do run the More Art House. I have a literacy-driven nonprofit in the city. I have a day party on Sunday for kids that's free at 3 o'clock, by the way, at the Love Building. I'm promoting it now because I haven't promoted it. Y'all come to my party. It's for the kids. I mean, it's family oriented, but it's a free party. I'm gonna have cupcakes and all kinds of sugar, and Sunday else is back to y'all. And you can buy my children's book. But I think my legacy is that, not waiting. I didn't wait for anyone else to do it. And I do want to create things, especially in the city of Detroit, because I came from Cody High School off Joy Road, and I would like the curriculum change inside the school. They need to be teaching my books and Black contemporary poets and poetry in general, outside of Robert Frost and Walt Whitman. The shit that I had to learn, like 5 White Dead Men, are not they're not the template for great literature. And so I would like to see Sheefy McFly's work taught inside the Detroit public school system. So that's what so we have to shift that. So otherwise we're gonna keep having to reteach. So let's put the Detroit artists inside the curriculum inside of some of these schools and make every school in the city an art school. Every school should be an art-driven school. Not one, not just Detroit School of the Arts, not just CAS and Renaissance. All the Detroit schools, all those babies on the east side, west side, everywhere, southwest deserve to paint and draw and think and dream. And so that would be my legacy, God willing, if I'm able to see that happen. I'm pushing against the Detroit, pushing and working with the school board and things to say, hey, now that I'm Detroit Poet Laureate, can you maybe put my book in some classrooms? Because our kids should know who I am if nobody else. And so, that I hope that's a part of my legacy, is that I'm an institution builder.
Incredible. Okay, this has been a beautiful conversation, so empowering. I'm really excited to see what you all do next. So please check out all three of these artists. Keep up with their careers. The sky's the limit. We're so excited to watch your legacy unfold. Thank you.